morning. I stand before you as a proud co-author of AB 392. I want to tip my hat and congratulate my colleague, the Women's Caucus and the Black Caucus, Dr. Weber, for continuing to persevere in this area. And I'm proud that leadership in the Senate continue to work during interim to attempt to negotiate language that would work for all. As you heard by the very eloquent previous speaker, Californians are dying at the hands of law enforcement with alarming frequency. You heard the statistics for just 1 year. In 2017 alone, police murdered 172 Californians. You heard the racial disparity statistics. Nearly 50% were Latino and 15% were Black. You heard about LA County's rates. You heard about some of the areas in the Central Valley. Law enforcement agencies in communities like Bakersfield, Stockton, Santa Ana, and Long Beach have alarmingly high rates of use of force killings per capita. Again, nationwide, almost half of people killed by police have a disability or mental illness. Under current law, which hasn't been updated since 1872, police can use deadly force whenever a, quote, objectively reasonable officer would have done so under the same circumstance, regardless of whether deadly force was necessary to prevent death or serious bodily injury, whether there were available alternatives, and even if the officer's criminal negligence led to those circumstances. Inaction is no longer an option, especially when we know common sense solutions exist. And updating the use of force standard is the just and right thing to do. When police use tactics to slow down situations and de-escalate tensions, it saves community lives and also increases safety for the officers. The California Act to Save Lives provides a clear definition for when deadly use of force can be used. It doesn't prohibit the use of deadly force. It provides a clear definition about when it is deemed appropriate. Only when responding to an imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury, and when there are no other options. I have a deep and profound respect for the law. I take my job as a lawmaker very seriously. And with that, I have the same expectation of those who take an oath and wear a badge and are given under the color of authority the right and legal right to bear arms. I, as a California resident, as an African-American woman, should have the same expectation that they too take the law very seriously and would want to use objective data and guidance when they assert lethal force. Implicit bias is very real in our society. We, as Californians, have a responsibility to check our own bias. But looking at the absolute facts, it is hard to believe that the disproportionate number of poor people and Black and brown people who are unarmed and lose their lives at the hand of law enforcement is done so without bias. Some of us policymakers are unfairly considered anti-law enforcement when we carry or vote or co-sponsor bills like this. That couldn't be further from the truth. We cast votes every day to support law enforcement in terms of their mental health needs, in terms of their pension rights, in terms of all kinds of things. So let's have a fair, objective, unbiased conversation about the disproportionate rates at which people of color are being murdered at their hands. Step up to the plate, law enforcement, and let's have a dialogue about what's just and right in our society.
That's right.